Paddle the World number 10, 10 weeks on already. This is actually quite an interesting one in terms of logistics and coordination. It was 4 o'clock in the UK. It was 10 o'clock in Chicago, and it was 8:30, poor old Farooq, in Jammu and Kashmir, Srinagar. So it took a bit of effort and coordination to get everyone together in the right place at the right time. Consummate professionals, all three guests, and my sincere thanks to them. John, absolute professional, came up on time and then seamlessly linked both guests together. So I'll be working with John again. Hopefully we're going to do a bit of a safety symposium. More about that later on. But we're thinking about planning a bigger event which will give credit and justice to the all-important issue of boat safety, return from COVID-19, and also we'll link in some stuff regarding para-athletes as well, which may be of interest to you, but more about that later on. Henry Smith, my son, always great to talk to him about all sorts of things. And I'm always pleasantly surprised, not by what he says, by the intelligent way he does it. And he must get that from his mum. Okay. And the great presentation from Farooq with all the problems we have with the internet connectivity. What I've done is put his PowerPoint on the end. So hopefully you'll get the benefit of that as well. Thank you once again to all our guests. Great pleasure working with such professionals. Enjoy the program. Thank you. Okay, good afternoon, everybody. This is Paddle the World number 10. This is a collaboration between us here at Sipseris Flying Fish in the middle of England and Heat International in the middle of Florida. Today we have a quite interesting program for you. We have 10.5 hours of separation. We have Farooq in Srinagar in northern India, Jammu and Kashmir, and all the way to the west we have John McDermott in Chicago. So we're going to try and link all this up. And we have Henry in the middle. Henry, you can't see him. He's down there relative to me. And my son, he'll talk about a few things at the end of the presentation. Now, like I say, Farooq Ahmed Bhat, first presentation. Where is he? There he is, there, my friend. Farooq is a coach. He's a kayak and dragon boat coach in Srinagar. Now, if you're not familiar with that, Srinagar is in the north of India, in Jammu and Kashmir state. There's 25 states in India. He's the national coach. So you may have seen the national team in both Kunming and Pattaya last year. He's also the secretary of the Jammu and Kashmir Dragonboat Association. He's an IDBF official, an all-round good chap, and ambassador for the sport. Now, he's got a PowerPoint, but because we've got a few possible internet connections issues, I'm going to put the PowerPoint on the pre or the post-recorded version, but I'm going to interview Farooq now. So to get the best out of it, if you go on to speaker view, then you should be able to see both myself and Farooq. And if you're on mute, then you'll hear what's going on. So Farooq, can you hear me, sir?
Yes, I can hear you. Yes, thank you very much. Good evening.
Okay, you're very welcome, sir. There's a slight time delay, so we'll go with it. So please, firstly, tell us what's going on in Srinagar then. Obviously, you're in the depths of the corona situation, but then there's no paddling going on. But how's things generally in Srinagar at the moment?
Srinagar is battling very hard. It's not that high as compared to other parts of the India, but Srinagar, Kashmir is doing, especially Kashmir state there's basically two parts in Jammu and Kashmir. One is Jammu and Kashmir. So, but the Kashmir is doing very well. There are some rises there, but it is contained. There's a very good administration here. They are doing very well. Keep sanitizing all the places. And you know, there are some guidelines that people are working on it. They are following it. So that is the reason it has been contained to a large extent.
Okay, so far so good, and we wish you the best of luck, because different places in the world are in different stages of the various crises and recovery from that. So in terms of the paddling, I appreciate there's no paddling going on at the moment, but you are the secretary of the Jammu Kashmir Dragonboat Association, but there's all sorts of other paddling going on there. I've been seeing pictures of snake boats and all sorts of things. So tell us something about the history of paddling in that particular area, on that beautiful Lake Dal, please.
The Jammu and Kashmir, especially the Kashmir state, it is restored with the large quantity of lakes are there. There are a number of lakes. One among these, the world's Asia's largest, that is Wular Lake. There is less paddling, but in the heart of the city, that is Srinagar, that's called Dal Lake. The
Oh,
Dal
yeah.
Lake is very famous all over the world for, especially for the tourists across the world. It's been flooded here, due to the normal times with the tourists across from all over the world, even from India. So the lake is very good. So it has been, there are number of ways of the paddling there. The one is traditional, competitive level, and the local level. Local because people living in the living lake. It's a living lake. So nearly 2,000 families are living in the lake, Dal
Right.
Lake. So yes, so they use their traditional boats. They're small boats like the open canoe,
Yeah.
and they keep it's a very stable. The hull is very wide, and the shikaras in which the people ferry the tourists from one place to other places. So there are lot of ways paddling. So I can say in Srinagar we are born paddlers here.
Right.
Whosoever
So it's
take up
in the DNA. So water people are. It's in the DNA of the local people.
yes, exactly, the good word you have is in the DNA. The paddling is in the DNA here.
Right.
The child is born, he learns swimming. At the very same time, we used to offer him the paddling so that he can live very smoothly, so that he can move around after in presence or without the presence of the elder.
Beautiful. I've seen some pictures of Lake Dow. It looks absolutely beautiful, and I'm going to need to come over there and do some paddling with you, my friend. Now, these
Yes, yes,
five-person
please.
boats. So, I mean, I
Yes.
appreciate you're doing dragon boating now, but it looks to me like the history of boating, race boating, goes back hundreds, if not thousands of years. These five-person boats, firstly, what are they called?
It's called Demb. DEMB is a local boat. That's what
Right.
I used to say, that the local living in the lake, they used to have these boats. They can ferry, they can go across the main road. So that's the medium between the road and the lake. So
Right.
they use that boats. Yeah, it's a
So
medium between the
anything
road
from
and the lake.
a general purpose boat to a ferry to a racing boat to all sorts of things. Okay. So
It's
you
all sort of in this, all sort of things.
now I've also seen it, and our viewers will see in the PowerPoint. There's the snake boats, and I think is it 80 people, huge boats. So tell us something about the history of
Yes,
snake boat
it is.
racing.
It is almost nearly 80 years old, but this routine in the Kerala state, that is in the south part of the very tail end of the Indian map. You can
Right.
see the Kerala state. It's very famous there. This snake boat races are being conducted every year in the month of August. It's
Right.
the called Nehru Cup Trophy.
Okay.
There are nearly 20 men teams and nearly 8 teams from the women's from the point of view. So
Right.
they compete with each other. There's a huge money involved there. Prize money is very huge. So there's a very lot of competition. Each club owners, they go out and they keep looking for the good paddlers, and they hire them, pay them so that they can win the huge amount of.
Oh,
It's a prestigious trophy. It's a prestigious kind of trophy here in India.
wow. That's normally August. Obviously, this year is going to be a bit different. Now, you may
No, no,
know in China,
yes,
in China, they have dragon boats and phoenix boats. So if you look at
yes.
traditional boats, only males can go in the dragon boats and only females in the phoenix boats. Is it the same, or do you do mixed categories, or how do you arrange your racing in Srinagar then?
In Srinagar, we do it both mixing and the men's and the women's at school level, at club level, and at the department level. Because I'm working in a JNK police, we have got a very good water sports team in which I am coaching from the past 10 years, 15
Right.
or 12 years. I've been coaching there. So there are different each and every kind of part in the sports is there. The whatever is in written as per the guidelines of the international community, whether it's a canoeing, whether it's a dragon, IDBF, we follow the same and we do it here.
Right. And I've also seen some pictures, I think, on your PowerPoint of some snake boats that have got a huge number of people in it. So are these ceremonial boats?
This is other part. Is the other in the others that's called Manipur. Manipur area that is in the northeast of India.
Right.
That's called Hiraiko Hidongba. That's a kind of it's a bit of the religious activities there. At the very same time, they compete, and so it's a kind of a festival, you could say. you could say the competition is less important, but the competition from the festival point of view, there are some religious things linked with that. So they, they do it some artis, like just we offer some prior just like we do in the World Championship.
Yeah.
The start of the we keep, doing some customs there. We follow there. So this is like that in Manipur. In
Fantastic.
Assam, they are khel now.
Okay.
And other one more state is there that's called Assam. That's also in the point.
Yeah.
If you could see me.
Yeah, I can see we've got a slight
traditional spot. Yes. That's also the one of the best states. There are so many paddlers here in the Assam state, and so we have so far conducted 2 national championships there. In fact, 3. Sorry, yes, 3.
Wow. And you're closely involved in those as well, which is a great credit to you as well. Now, you also mentioned to me a festival called Jashan-e-Dal. I'm probably pronouncing that wrong. Tell us about Jashan-e-Dal. That sounds like a fascinating festival. Tell us a bit about that, please.
Yes, the Jashan-e-Dal is being organized by the J&K police here. We look forward for some talents. We involve local people there, students there, so that they will get some sense of this boating, water sports. And we do not want to limit this paddling sports to the Dal Lake only, but we want to reach out to the masses in the city, main city, and some rural areas. So we call them, we invite them, the police provide them transportation, so that we bring them from there and we show them, we tell them, okay, go. We send some experts with them, so that they can, easily paddle with ease. So there should be no pressure. Yeah.
Okay. So it's but what is does the festival have a significance in terms of a local festival, or what's the origins of it? Is it like a local religious festival or a cultural thing?
No. It's not kind of a festival. It's a kind of a, you can say festival, but it's only very limited to the water sports only.
Right.
But also we can invite some musicians in traditional boat. Like there are huge boats. We cover them with the flat flooring, so that they can stay there. The paddlers keep paddling. They keep singing. They keep dancing. It's a kind of a, you can say festival, but the Jashan is a celebration.
Right. So it's a celebration. Right. So it's a celebration of the lake. So there is some culture. I got it now. Now, I also hear that you are an IDBF official, are you not, my friend?
Yes, I am grade 1. Thank you very much. I'm grade 1. I was in Kunming.
So from Kunming. So tell me something about your experiences there. So what's the if you were saying to somebody to become an IDBF official, what would be the highlights for you?
The highlights is very good, because in the officialing you keep, mixing with the teams. You keep talking to the officials, so you can you can get involved very heavily in this officialing, because you keep each and every team from every part of the world. They come to you, they talk to you, they speak. We keep asking with each other, so that we can decide the competition. I can get the sense of the feeling here. See how good world is, how this Dragonboat, beauty of Dragonboat is, because that is how they connect people from one to other.
Yeah. My son's on this call as well, and he'll tell you that we always make a point, certainly in my teams, of being very polite and respectful to the officials, not for any other reason, that you're there day in, day out, and then people get frustrated and they tend to sort of take it out on the officials, and you've got doing a difficult job there, trying to keep people happy and motivate people. So it's all very well. Only a nice, kindly word from the teams as they go through. I hope that's appreciated. I'm sure it is, but I'm sure I would appreciate it. So thank you very much for your hard work on behalf of everyone on this call, actually, because it is well appreciated. But also, not only do you do that, you're also the coach of the Indian team, are you not?
Yes, I am. Yes, I was. I was last year in Thailand.
That's an amazing feat in itself. Because I think you told me on when we did our preparation sort of call, I think you said there's 25 states in India, and you managed to get representation from 18 of those 20, and the spread is amazing. So how did you manage to coordinate
people from 18 states. And actually, we have in each state, we have our own representative there. We have state associations in each every state. So whenever there is an international event, even though we are not being funded by the government, but still we can, they manage. As being a secretary in the state, Jammu and Kashmir, sometimes I have to pay for my own pocket. It's the zeal of sports. Yeah. And we want to excel in this sport because we have a very potential paddling here. We have lakes here. A lot of lakes are there. So simple idea is to excel and bring laurels and have some satisfaction in you that, yes, I have done this. Maybe sometime you may feel some hardship, but it's all right. Shortcomings are everywhere, but that's the part of the coach, part of the secretary to how to, cope with all these things, to deal with things. But the idea is only to excel and to promote and to attract more and more youths and some elders as well, so that there should be no some isolation. Really, you can see in some seniors, maybe some parts may not be, I may be not correct, but my own experiences, the dragon boating connects people. Yes. As compared to other, because it shows you the teamwork, how to work in a team. If you don't work as a team, you won't get success. You have to work and you have to keep everything. The presence of mind is very there, high there in dragon boating. I mean, we say when we do all sorts of levels of coaching, whether it's a recreational team, timing, teamwork, technique, power transmission. Okay, 4 T's, and teamwork is a fundamental. And just bringing people together, working together in a boat, cultural, cross-cultural, different genders. There's very few sports that are anything like that. Get lots of people together at different levels as well. So congratulations on that. But I'm just interested also in how you manage to, when you do your training for the national team. So if it's, say, centered on Lake Dole, it's relatively easy, but you've got people traveling huge distances. So how do you arrange your whole team sessions or your squad sessions? How does that work out? Yes, prior to the championship, we keep sending the mails to the invitations to all the states, and we are asking them to kindly provide some good paddlers, and we assemble in one state. Any state who agrees to hold a camp, we assemble there for a brief time. I cannot say you that for a long time, but a brief time. We assemble. We just manage to, create a team so that we can compete. We can compete, at the international level. Right. Okay. Because it's interesting because relatively speaking, in the UK, the distances are small, and because people have a comfort bubble, they would maybe complain about travelling from London to Liverpool, 200 miles. And when you look at some of the distances people have to travel to train, and that's 200 miles with fantastic infrastructure. So it's a credit to people even to get to training in the first place. So what sort of results have you got so far? Both your team in Pattaya and in Kunming as well. Because I'm pretty sure there was an Indian team in Kunming, was there not, in 2017? Yes, it was there. It was there. I was official, but the team was there also there. Also there. So people say that every great journey starts with a single step. So how is the team performing? Are they, in your estimation, are they where you need them to be, or how are you going to progress them? Well, if I take it in a one point, because if I look at my the facilities available to me from that point of view, I think we are doing very, very good, very good. If I look after, because it is growing up, it's not so settled here, but we are trying our best to have this dragon boating at the government level as well. We are working on that, but at our own level, at the cost of our own, from our own pockets, I am, as a coach, I'm very satisfied. Yes, my boys went there, they are competing in the highly elite paddlers of the world. Yes. In that point of view, I'm very satisfied. I'm very, very satisfied. Thank God for that. Yeah. John's just asked me a question. He says to me, could you repeat the 4 T's? The 4 T's, as far as I'm concerned, this is my take on it, is timing. I always say to crews, timing, teamwork, technique, and power. And they say, power doesn't begin with T. And I say, power transmission, not power. Well, that's what that's about. That's just for John. But so what's your fundamentals? So if you're training a crew, what's the first thing you'd say to them? So I'd say 4 T's. How would you sum up
where you want them to be? Give us a quick flavour of your style.
The only for my own fundamental is my own the philosophy of the coaching is I just ask them only one thing. I still see you have been bestowed with this this opportunity to represent your state.
Yes.
You represent your country at the elite level. So it is not easy job. It's a very tough job for others, but still you manage to get the place in the team. So in the boat, I said to them, okay, one thing. See, guys, you are not here team. You consider you're only one here. You're not 10. You're one. So you have to be very presence of mind should be there. It's the mind application. You have to follow each other. It's a chain. If you follow, you'll go. If you mess up, you'll fall. So best thing is you stay present. You keep your mind present there. That's the only fundamental I can ask them. Be present there.
I'm very interested in your take on that, because we're talking the same language. You know, it's the same. We may use different words, but I can see you're a coach. I can see you're a motivator. I can see you're an inspired man and an inspirational man. And thank you very much for that. What I'm going to do now, if you don't mind, I'm going to ask anybody from the audience if you have any questions for Farooq while he's on the line. Bearing in mind, it's 8:30 at night. If you have any questions, if you unmute yourself and then ask away, and Farooq will be glad to answer any questions. So do we have any questions from the house?
Farooq, I have a question. What is the what are the divisions that you coach, the age groups that you take to the national or to the world championships?
I'm I started with the basic from the grassroots level. I started so that I went ahead. So I have worked with a lot of world championship coach in camps attended. Especially I had a good experience of being the lake inhabitant, because I'm living in the lake, so I have a good sense of paddling. And then from my own way, I went to the Indian camps. I have learned from some foreign coaches there. So I knew that if you want to successful coaching career and a good teamwork, you have to work from the root level. So I'm working on that. I picked up good teams. So I'm still working on the boat level, but the main focus is with the advanced training level.
Farooq, what age groups are represented by India at the World Championships?
It's the senior level, senior trainer group. It's from the age of 20 onward, 20 to 30. We don't have seniors here, more seniors here. Like we have some in other parts of the teams from the different teams from the different countries. We have only senior, you could say the senior advanced paddlers, basic paddlers we are there.
Okay, thanks.
But,
okay, thank you for that.
But I'm working very closely on the senior level. So maybe next time I was supposed to, I have discussed the point in the meeting in the federation level. So we were looking for some senior paddlers, like the 40, above 40, so that they can come also. So that will help us, when they come back, they go back to their homes. They may ask their children, see, this is a good game. You go and take part. It will help us to reach out to the masses. They can be an ambassador for us.
Okay. Okay, my friend, thank you very much. Any other questions from the house, please? Okay, if you have any questions that you can't think of at the moment, at the end of it, on the YouTube version, which will go out on to the Heat International Facebook and also another YouTube channel, if you ask any questions, we'll send some Farooq's email address and you can ask him direct. So that's great as well. Okay, thank you, my friend. Thank you very much. I appreciate it's late. Thank you for taking the time and have a lovely day, Farooq. Now, ladies and gentlemen, that's 4.5 hours in front of me. Now I'm going to go 6 hours behind me. I'm going to hand over to Mr. John McDermott. So, Mr. John McDermott, are you there? Let me just hand over the host to you, my friend. Where is he? There he is. So more.
All right.
Okay, so I'll just introduce you. So, Mr. John McDermott from the Greater Chicago Dragonboat Club. You're now the host, but just before you start, I'll just introduce John if you don't know John. John is a level 2 coach. He's the head coach and founding member of the Greater Chicago Dragonboat Club. He's also the author, co-author of the COVID-19 re-entry guidance, and we're interested to see how, I think it's in version 3 at the moment. So my friend, thank you for your time, for joining us. Over to you. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Tim. Thanks, everybody. It's wonderful to actually have some time with you guys. I really enjoyed listening to Farooq talk about what's going on in India, and I think it's a natural bridge to some of the things that we're seeing here in Chicago. In particular, you'll notice one of our themes, our mantra, is one boat, one beat. And I think in not so many words, that's kind of what Farooq mentioned a little bit when he was talking about the fact that when he has his team together, he was coaching them to be thinking about being present in the moment. And so I wanted to kick it off with 3 different things that we'll talk about a little bit today. So the first is, do you have drumsticks, steering oars, and paddles? And is that all it actually takes to get a Dragonboat team up and running? And then the second topic is, who cares about safety? Really? I mean, who cares? And then what's the new normal really all about that we're in, this new world we're in? So we'll go through each one of these pretty quickly. And with that, I'd like to kick it off by basically saying a very special thanks and a wave of the drumstick, if you will, to Barb Michaels and the American Dragonboat Association. Today actually marks the 4th anniversary of the founding of Greater Chicago, ironically. Just so happened that when Tim asked us to speak today, it's kind of an important day for us, if you will, our birthday amongst. And Barb Michaels was very instrumental in helping us actually get started. So I want to take a moment and just thank her for her guidance, her time, her effort, her coaching to us as a leadership team to get started. I'd also like to thank Adaptive Adventures, who approached us about, trying to help get closer to where their population is, which is inside the city of Chicago. And so they were instrumental in helping us think about trying to expand. And then the Chicago Rowing Foundation, which is where we're housed out of on the Chicago River, they welcomed us with open arms. And if you think about it, rowing and dragon boating, sometimes in some cities, at least when I started in Philadelphia, we didn't necessarily always get along really well. But in Chicago, the Chicago Rowing Foundation has just been welcoming and wonderful. So drumsticks, steering oars, and paddles. Well, I'm not going to go through everything that's in this particular slide, but I wanted to just take a moment and recognize the fact that the founding members in the light blue on the upper right, Sue Villanosa, Paula, my wife Kathy, Michael Loosevelt, when we started the vision of where Greater Chicago could go, it really started with just sitting around the table and starting to outline some of the ideas, which was to really try to be a more inclusive, if you will, club, in the sense of providing access to people of all different ages, all different races, all different creeds, all different capabilities. And I'm really excited that in the 4 years from when we started to where we are now, we've actually transitioned to a fully independent board. And some of those members, I think, are on the call with us today. So we have an executive leadership team. They're independent of the founders now. We've all transitioned our roles. We set up different operating teams in order to run, if you will, the organization. And I think the point I'm trying to say here is it was a village that sort of got us started. And I know, quite frankly, Pat, Bradley, and Liz, they were helpful and instrumental in bringing up Heat International to help give us some exposure, and that helped get us started. So it really takes a village to be able to kind of start a Dragonboat team, and we're kind of excited about that. Oops. This is where we paddle. So I wanted to share a visual. This is my brother Randy Tom at the helm there. I know he's on the call with us today. And I think Emma might actually be in that boat somewhere in one of those pictures there. But this is the Chicago River. And so I'll give you an orientation of where we are here in a second. I invite you all to, if you have the opportunity, if you're in Chicago, obviously when we're not in a COVID environment, come and paddle with us. So the picture I just showed you is from us where the water spout is, and that's the starburst at the bottom right of your page. If you look at the upper left corner of your page, you'll see the island of Goose Island. We happen to have a beer in Chicago called Goose Island. It's actually made very near to Goose Island, but not on Goose Island. But nonetheless, that's home for us. So it's about 3.5 miles from our boathouse down to the water spout, just to help orient you on where we are, city-wise. Keeping with the theme of where the water spout is and where Chinatown is, Chinatown's about another 3.5 miles south, if you will, on the fork of the Chicago River, of where the water spout is. And so oftentimes we will paddle from our boathouse to Chinatown and back, or we'll paddle from the boathouse to the water spout and back. So it just depends on sort of what the training plan is for the day. But there's lots of different sites to see, and I'll show you a few of those in a moment. Here's an example of one of those, and this is looking south, if you will, towards the city from our boathouse. So lots of smiling faces after everybody's returning from a long paddle to come back to towards our boathouse. Some of the different teams that we serve include a wide variety. And I think it's important because of who we are as an organization and our mission and vision to be able to reach out to the communities, that we have a number of different community teams and corporate teams that we work with. And Farooq mentioned the fact that he's trying to start with sort of the younger generation in order to build more attraction into our sport. And I think that's exactly the right thing. So we are really striving, probably like many on this call, to really tap into the youth and get them involved, whether it's working with scouting or working with high schools or the public school system, or sometimes a teacher that is passionate about dragon boating that can bring students in. I know, for example, in Iowa, in Dubuque, Iowa, they've done an amazing job when they run their race in September about having a youth division, and I think that's a credit to them for really tapping into that market, into that segment. And so we're hopeful that we will continue to grow and expand in those areas. For our team itself, we actually have a number of teams. We have, so inside the club, if you will, it's sort of like a holding company, and then we foster and enable each team to act independently so that they get the benefit of being a non-for-profit organization, and all the administrative costs are borne by the club, but the team is able to sort of operate independently. So we have our mixed team, the Chicago Blades. We have our women's team, the Chicago Sirens. Our new paddlers are called the Chicago Phoenix. We have a community team out of Chinatown called Chicago Fury. My brother Randy runs that as captain and coach. It's an amazing job with it. We support and fund Team Blue Chicago, which is an adaptive adventures team. And then with Pat and Liz's help, we've been an affiliate member with Heat International, and that's just a great organization. We absolutely love participating with Heat because it connects us with so many different resources. If we have questions or opportunities for paddlers to get engaged, travel to Spain or travel to other areas of the country in order to compete. This is one of my favorite shots. And, you know, when we started Greater Chicago Dragonboat, you would think that a large city like Chicago with a very large Chinese American population, that the city would have, or the community would have their own Chinatown team. They've had a race for 20 years, but there hasn't been a team, a Chinatown team. And so this picture is in Ping Tom Memorial Park, which is actually named after Randy's great uncle, who did a lot for the Chinatown community. And Randy's way of paying it forward was to organize a community team. And so we're really proud to have Fury. And so they're jumping for joy, literally. This is a picture that I'm really proud about as well, because in the bottom left, this is day one of week 1 of 5 weeks of training for the Chicago Phoenix. And all of us that have had any experience paddling, we we commonly see paddles clanking, paddles not deep enough in the water. We use Pat and Conrad's 3-2-1 coaching technique to try to pre-position the paddlers before they get in the water. But I'm really excited that 5 weeks later, that team emerged with a silver medal in their race category that they had last year. So very excited for them. In the upper right corner, you actually see one of the Adaptive Adventures paddlers, but you also see members from Motley Crew out of Wisconsin, out of Racine, Wisconsin, helping a paddler be able to navigate the landscape in order to get into the boat. And I think that just speaks to who we are as a community. We don't see people of color or ability or religion or sexual orientation. We see paddlers. And I think that's what inspires me about what we're doing as not only here, but the broader group of what we're doing in dragon boating. And yeah, we compete fiercely on the water. And that's the way it should be, right? That's healthy. And then when we're off the water, we're all lending a hand to one another. And so really proud about this particular photo. We participate in parades and celebrations, which, you know, we always enjoy. This is an example of how we decorate the boats for the Chinese New Year, which typically is in February. So if you're in Chicago in February and you don't see snow, it's pretty unusual. So that sort of wraps up the first section, a little bit of background on who we are as an organization. Now I'd like to move into who cares about safety. So who really does care about safety? Well, I promise you, those that provide for our water safety actually care for safety. For us, paddling on the Chicago River, we have to follow the Coast Guard. We have the Marine Safety Unit. We have the Chicago Harbor Safety. We have the Chicago Fire Department. So lots of people focusing on what's going on with regard to safety. And so when Tim and I were talking a little bit about getting an opportunity to share some things with the group today, I thought, what better way than to sort of talk about safety than to take a moment and say, here's a reflection over the last 4 years of some things that we've learned. And so if there's some questions along the way, please feel free to try to wave your hand so that we get either Tim's attention or my attention, and you can ask us some more questions. But I'm going to take a moment now and just take us through a couple of different experiences that we've had when we think about hazards. And I think one that certainly we're facing right now in many parts of the country in the United States is heat exhaustion, heat stress. You know, and so if you're out paddling, whether you're in an OC1 right now, it's probably even more important that you're paying attention to having the right level of hydration, recognizing the symptoms of heat stress when it can come on, and what you need to be able to do about it. And so you see some mitigating actions that we took. We've also adjusted our training schedule so that when the warmer, hotter months come about, we're able to try to adjust a little bit. We also get some sprains and strains. So during the off season, when we're doing our winter workout, or like many right now, we've been probably doing a lot of Zoom training or group virtual training. And we have a training committee. You might have noticed that on my earlier slide. And I'm a big fan of bench pulls. I just am. But I do recognize that for some paddlers, that is a challenge. And so the fitness team received that feedback as a hazard and provided an opportunity for us to look at some alternative methods by which we can learn about the ways in which we're demonstrating the strength of our athletes. We also have some issues relative to slipping on gangways because when things get wet, and so you can see what we've done there. A big one for us is lifting. So we have to, at the end of the season, we have to put all our equipment on our trailer and sort of take it to a place in order to store it. And we actually manually lift the second Dragonboat to put it in top of, or used to lift, in order to put it on top of the first Dragonboat, as you see. And as I mentioned, we would do this twice a year, at the beginning of the season and at the end of the season. So one of the ways in which we actually mitigated this was to install a hoist, such that we could actually hoist the boats up, and acquired some equipment in order to be able to do that. So now we can manually hoist the boat up in order to be able to stack the boats. So we actually eliminated that particular hazard. You see here we have our a 53-foot cargo container, which we use now to store our equipment. So our equipment's indoors as opposed to being outdoors in the Chicago winters. We also face the hazard of paddlers in the water. So Pat and I have talked quite a bit over the last couple of years about doing drills relative to capsizing and stuff like that. And there's dangers with doing the drill, but I'll tell you, last September, we were paddling right near Lake Michigan, actually in Jackson Harbor, and we had guests with us. And I think all of us have probably been in a boat where you have new paddlers, and we were running some short interval pieces with them. And at the end of the piece, a couple of the larger new guest paddlers sort of celebrated and stood up, and boom, next thing you know, we have 20 people in the water. And I'm grateful for the fact that we have practiced this drill, because the team was able to right side the boat, get everybody back into the Dragonboat, and actually bring the boat back over to the dock area successfully. But a big learning that we had as a team, that even in all the training episodes that we've done, and every year we do a mandatory capsize drill, was the psychological trauma and emotional recovery support that was needed for our paddlers as they experienced people underneath the boat. And we just I hadn't sort of thought about that relative to the training piece. And some of the paddlers shared stories of nightmares that they were experiencing. Some of our guest paddlers were non-swimmers, and there were some other issues that sort of occurred as well. And so I share this with the group because the American Red Cross was something that we tapped into as an organization that was not affiliated with us. They provided an independent counselor for a couple of hours that helped us as a group have a therapy session. And I think that helped some of our paddlers start on that road to recovery so that we could resume getting back in the water. But certainly that was something that was nowhere near on my line of sight, but is now something that I'll incorporate into the training exercise so that going forward we can be aware of it. The other piece that we did was we did some more training, as I mentioned before. We have a four-step drill that we do, and we've also incorporated a life sling in the event that someone goes overboard. And I know Tim has done some exercises on that at some of the Pan Am training camps. But you know, that's an example of where the more we share information, the more we all benefit from one another. And of course, anytime you're in the water, you got to make sure you got some hot chocolate or warm beverages, non-alcoholic, of course. I talked a little bit about slippery surfaces. One of the ways in which we actually mitigated that was to be able to install what we call Coyote Steve. Coyote Steve is, you can see him there in that little red bubble. 45 bucks, you can buy them on Amazon. You stick them on the dock, and believe it or not, it scares away the geese. And if the geese are gone, then you eliminate the poop. If you eliminate the poop, you eliminate the need for people to take a mop and a bucket and wet the dock down to clear out the poop. So 45 bucks, best investment I think we could have ever made. Actually, Bill and Becky, I think, are actually in this picture. This gives us more time to go paddling. We love to paddle. This is an evening paddle we were doing where we were paddling into the city on a Wednesday night so that we could go and watch some fireworks, which sadly this year, all the fireworks in in Chicago have been canceled. We've got some other examples of hazards that we have, you know, puncture wounds from sharp objects, and of course hullying. So one of the things that we now do is we have, before you go out in the OC, it's mandatory that you demonstrate you know how to recover yourself from the OC. It's clearly a best practice. Probably everybody's doing that, but it's just something that I thought we would mention as well. You know, it really is about keeping paddlers safe. I love this picture because I love the smiles. This is a picture of us on Lake Michigan. Those of you that know my wife, Kathy, know that she is an expert at photobombing. You will see her in an OC in the far distance of that picture. Photobombing this wonderful picture of us on Lake Michigan. I promise you, Lake Michigan's not always this calm. It is this blue. But this is one of the first times, I think, that a dragon boat was actually out on Lake Michigan. We had a great day, and it was just beautiful water. So, all right, so any questions on the safety and who should care about safety, and comments from the group before I go on to talk a little bit about COVID?
Thank you, John. We've got a question from Eleanor in Cyprus. So, Eleanor, would you like to unmute yourself and ask your question to John, please?
Hi, John.
Hello?
Can you hear me?
Yep,
Okay.
I can hear.
I just wanted to know, what additional precautions do you take when you night paddle?
Excellent question. One of the biggest ones is that we have to put lights on the boat. So the Coast Guard requires that we have bow lights and stern lights on the boat, and then we decorate. Actually, I see Robin Ivino on the call with us. Robin does a great job of leading the team in actually decorating the paddlers in light sticks, and so it's quite colorful. And so we make safety fun that way, Eleanor, to be able to get everybody engaged. So those are a couple of the big things that we do. We have a marine radio with us. Obviously, we're in contact with the Coast Guard. We're in contact with other vessels that are on the boat. But those are probably the biggest things that we do.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Okay, any more questions for John on the safety aspect before we go on to the COVID-19 guidelines and precautions?
I can't figure out how to send you a message, but I got a real quick question for John about your cargo container. How many boats can you get in there, and did you have to pay for it?
Yes, Pat. So we acquired, the board actually supported, they recognized what was going on from a safety perspective, and I, again, compliment them for their determination. But we went out and found a discontinued container, Pat, and so we acquired it. It's 53 feet long, gives us a lot of extra storage space at the deep end of the container, and we can put 4 boats side by side stacked on the trailer. In addition, we actually have ceiling capacity where we can put OC equipment as well. So we figure by the time we get everything built out in there, we should be able to house probably 4 to 8, so 4 dragon boats and probably another 4 to 6, maybe 8 OCs on the very top of the dragon boats.
Good idea.
Yeah, thanks.
Okay, any more questions for John? If after the broadcast you have a question, don't worry, because I've started having a conversation with John about doing another feature on safety and safety generally, a subject that's close to our hearts. So hold on to your questions, but we may publish something fairly soon in relation to that. Okay, John, back to you. Thank you, my friend.
Yep, great. All right, so what is the new normal? So when Tim and I were talking about this a little bit, I started to think about, well, what is normal? And it really made me think about the Adaptive Adventures community, because that's a community where, you know, normal for them is always something that there's a new challenge every day that they face. And I think all of us are now thinking about what normal looks like. And so you know, we wrote this reentry plan, which really our board asked us. Kathy Lawson, who's our safety manager, said, look, before we go back on the water, we've got to be able to have a safety plan. We've got to have some sort of reentry guidelines. And so we reached out to the USDBF and the ADBA and to other organizations to see if there was something. And this was probably in late March timeframe, maybe the first week of April. And I think all of us were like, hey, we're not even sure where to start. And so I just happened to get connected with two of your senior sea paddlers. So E.T. and Hung, who both have a background in, Hung is an epidemiologist and E.T. works in public health care. So we kind of got connected and we tapped in with Bob Mack, who works in the ER. And I know Bob was on the call a couple weeks back to actually take you all through the first version of our document. And so today I'm not going to go through the document in any detail other than to say it's now available through the IDBF. There's a link that's embedded in this that when Tim posts it, you should be able to punch out to it. But Mike Thomas has been great. He reached out after we established contact and said, you know, he looked at the document. He said, look, this is great. We've got something from Canada now. There's something, I believe, from New Zealand that's come up as well. So each country is starting to slowly, put their plans together and share them with the IDBF, which I think is exactly what we want, so that we can all gain knowledge from each other. And I think Mike Mundrell talked about this a couple of weeks back, how he engaged with his local public health team. And I think that is exactly the right thing to be doing. For us, as an example, when we were looking to try to get our OCs out on the water, the Chicago River's not open just yet, but we found another interim body of water. And so we started to talk to that local district by us, and we shared a copy of this plan with them. Based on the plan, they said, you guys can go out. You guys, you know what you're doing, you can go out. And so what I wanted to share with you is, yep, we thought we knew what we were doing. And so prior to week one, we sent out an email communication to the team. We said, you need to answer these questions. You need to know your temperature. You need to certify that you haven't been sick for the last 14 days and that you haven't been around anybody that's been sick. And we even sent a reminder that said, hey, these are some things we're going to do when we move the equipment. These are some things we're going to do when we're out on the water with regard to PFDs. So you need to bring your own PFD. If you don't have one, you can buy one from the club. We need to make sure we're going to clean and sanitize. And we learned some things along the way. And so this is our OC2. It's brand new. We're getting some instruction from Jeff Wintercorn, who's been paddling in OC2s for a long period of time, and on how to set up the OC and how to go about it. We obviously have to make sure we monitor and keep social distancing. And so we had some learnings. We had some learnings that came from it. We didn't expect there to be new hazards, but there were. One of the big aha moments was we haven't seen each other for 3 or 4 months. And so what happens? We're a community, we love each other. So everybody sort of forgot about social distancing when we got to the lake, right? We all went up and started to get real close to each other because we haven't, it's like family. We haven't seen each other. And so we had to reinforce that a little bit. We learned too that when we had some new paddlers, and so we had to get them the hoolie. And guess what? When face masks get wet, they're a little bit more, it's impossible to breathe through them. So now we have a new process where you've got to put a second face mask inside a Ziploc bag and take it with you on the boat. It's a new site. There were some new hazards. There was moss on the side of the dock that we didn't see, we didn't know about, that we had to address. So we constantly are learning. So we use this Deming model of continuous improvement. Some of you probably know it, or maybe know different types, but it's basically you plan, you go out and you do something, you check and inspect, and then you act or you adjust based on the learnings. And so that's what we did between week 1 and week 2. And we made some adjustments that fixed things from week 1, but we then had some new things that came out on week 2. For example, the sanitizer that we're using in between paddlers, maybe not so friendly for the water. So we want to be environmentally friendly, so we had to get the right kind of sanitizer to use that's water friendly. We had to avoid, when we took the Dragonboat out, helping people in and out of the Dragonboat. We all love to do that, right? We give a helping hand to help people in so they don't trip or fall, and we have to just make sure that we're practicing some new habits there. The other thing is, because we were taking temperatures of everybody when they came to practice, most thermometers that all of us have in our house, where do we keep them? In our medicine cabinet. It's inside. Well, those thermometers generally aren't used to being outside. When they're outside in the heat and the sun, the temperature ranges tend to create an issue, and so we had that as a learning. But you know, through all of that, we're getting ready. Tomorrow we'll start week 3 for us back out on the water. And we are starting to, you know, slowly crawl. I think that's the way we have to think about this now, is crawling back onto the water, if you will, and trying to make some adjustments. The paddlers all felt that paddling with 5 people, I was very concerned that 5 was not a lot of people in a 20-person Dragonboat, but they did not experience, you know, strains or sprains or any other issues, and they all really enjoyed it. You see a picture here of 6 people in the boat, obviously 5 people paddling. So balancing the boat's a little bit of an issue that you have to start to think a little bit about. But and there's my brother Randy on the right-hand side, looking good. Nice reach, Randy. So here's what I could tell you. I believe firmly that we can count on a return to normal. Okay, it's just getting to this point where we can all celebrate and be back together again. It's going to take a little bit of time, but here's the thing: we're a creative group, we're an innovative group, and I believe we will be able to get there. So I want to, you know, shout out to some of the folks from the Midwest, Motley, Flying Ears, the Blue Dragons who came up from Florida, paddling for MB. I think we've got other folks here as well as our home team, and so just really excited to see everybody. So to recap, I talked about 3 things. First was, it really does take a Dragonboat community to get a Dragonboat team started, and as I mentioned, thank you to Pat and Liz, thank you to Pan Am, thank you to the American Dragonboat Association, thank you to Adaptive Adventures and to the Chicago Rowing Foundation, to the board for all their guidance and for all the work that they do. Who cares about safety? Honestly, we got to be thinking about safety for our families. You know, I think Bob McNamara talked about this, and I know Hung, it was a big point for him, was when we go to practice, we get exposed to the coronavirus, and we have to be thinking about how we're bringing that back to our families and to our loved ones. And so go slow, because, you know, we have to think about those that love us and care for us. And I firmly believe that we will be able to adapt, overcome, reimagine, and learn from this experience. And I think our sport will be a lot stronger as we come out of this and as we build a new normal. So with that, I will I'll share some contact information on how you can reach us and open it up to questions. Tim, over to you.
Okay, thank you, my friend. Okay, for the audience, do you have any questions right here, right now for John? If you don't, it's not a problem, because we can make sure we get them answered anyway. But any immediate questions, please, from the house? You've stunned them with your knowledge.
Farooq, looks like Farooq raised his hand.
Okay, Farooq, if you unmute yourself, come straight in, my friend. Okay, I will make sure that we get Farooq's question for you, and we'll make sure that gets answered for everybody. But in the meantime, John, firstly, happy birthday. Secondly, thank you very much. You are a consummate professional, eloquent, erudite, interesting, inspirational, educational. I've learnt about coyotes, Steve.
Hello.
In our dock this morning, and we had.
Can you hear me?
Oh yes, Farooq, go, my friend, go. You have a question.
I have a question for. Yes, I have a question for John, Mr. John. Mr. John, don't you think this pandemic, this disease, the deadlier disease has taught us many lessons? I think if once we'll overcome it, it will strengthen our willpower to emerge very victorious. Don't you think there are some lessons in it? And
Yes.
could you please throw some light for the good of this community, for the good of the game? I think I guess it is. Can you throw some light?
Yes, I agree, Farooq. I think there's three things we're gonna take away from what's going on right now. Because our sport is such a community-based sport and we all work so closely together, I think we're going to be on the front edge of learning how we can be side by side with one another in a safe way, and what that's going to look like. It may be paddling with masks for a long period of time. I don't know. I don't know the answer to that until we get a vaccination, probably, or herd immunity, as the medical experts like to say. And I'm not a medical expert, but that's what I'm hearing. Until we get to that point, I think the second thing is we probably are going to learn that we're just going to have to be able to approach paddling in a slightly different way. There's going to be communities that are going to be needing special support, whether it's the deaf and some other, or whether it's a cancer survivor community and some of the issues that they might have. And I think the third thing that's going to come about is I think we're going to see a stronger bond in each nation, in community, that are in each area. So I think there's a couple of things that
Thank you.
Thanks for the question. Tim, you're on mute. Tim, you're on mute.
Okay, my friend. So, John, could you, any other questions from the house? Otherwise, thank you, Farooq. Thank you very much for that. Could you hand the host back to me, please, John?
Yes.
Thank you, sir. Happy birthday. And
there you go.
Right, fine. What I will say is you can always see when you work with a consummate professional, because what John did there, you may not have seen it. He seamlessly linked the fact that we're talking to Srinagar and also talking to youth paddling, and that brings me on to my final guest. So Henry, my friend, if you unmute for me, please. Okay, Henry Smith, this handsome chap here, I say he's handsome chap, he's my son. He gets his handsomeness from his mother, of course, as I'm sure you realise. Now, what Henry's going to talk about, Henry, young though he is, he's at university, he's the captain of the Canoe Kayak Polo team, but prior to that, he had a career, no less, as a junior international, a premier international, and in 2017, he was the premier helm of the GB Premier team. Now, I was the coach, but I've got to say, he got the job, not because he was my son, he got the job through merit. He will tell you more about that. But Henry, could you tell us a bit about your experience? I'm interested in the transition, young boy drummer to man. And it's a simple question, but what can the sport of dragon boating teach young adults? There's you going into adulthood now. Give us your thoughts on that.
So personally, growing up and training in like a core team environment, really, it was fantastic. But before dragon boating, when I was in secondary school or high school, I was a gymnast at a decent level, and obviously it's a very different environment because you're mainly working on your own and you're working on your own technique and your own ability, and that's also a great sport, and I was very into that for a few years. But then transitioning to dragon boating and water sports, it's a completely different environment because it's like we say, a pure team atmosphere. And unlike other team sports, for example, canoe polo and stuff I'm doing at the moment, unlike there where you've got lots of individuals with their own skill, their own talent, working as a team. With Dragonboating, you're doing the same thing, same time, all together, and it's a pure team environment. And growing up and training like that, especially with so many different people, starting from 2011 all the way through to 2017, 2018 for the last championships I went to, you learn so much, and it's a great atmosphere to learn from different people. But I also really enjoyed passing on what I learned to other people as well. And I got to the point where I just felt comfortable and felt comfortable in a sense that I felt like I could talk about it with anyone, whether they were young people at a corporate event or GB premiers who are like 10, 20 years older than me and more experienced. It was a great, I don't know, just a great experience on the whole, just having that opportunity, isn't it?
It's interesting because you started as a drummer, a GB drummer, and I remember you saying to me as a 12, 13-year-old, why should these people listen to you? Of course, you weren't a coach at that point. Obviously, you're a level 3 coach now. That's the IDBF, the BDA standard. But it's your enthusiasm they listen to. Yeah? Yeah. Now, you're now the captain and coach of a canoe kayak team, obviously a different water sport. So what transferable skills do you think are there that you've carried through into your first captaincy appointment?
Well, like I said, the difference in teamwork environment is slightly different because you're working in separate boats or individual boats rather than in one boat together, but the same sort of fundamentals apply. So going onto the water, I want to know that my team will communicate with me. Like, that's one thing that I think is absolutely crucial to both Dragonboat and Canoe Polo, is the communication amongst everyone. And that's with the captain, with the players, with the reserves, or the people sat on the bench, with the coach. Like, it's even off the water and on the water, it's so important to be able to trust people and respect people enough to basically say what you think and but also listen. And that's why, even though yes, I might be the captain of the team, might be the captain of the group, but I think it's really important not to let that sort of run your ego, if you know what I mean. It's all about listening as well, like taking on people's points as well, not just sort of leading from the front and then not looking behind you, because you're with the rest of your team, and that's the whole idea of teamwork in my eyes.
Okay. Now, normally when you read books, you hear lectures about leadership, you hear it from somebody, General Patton, somebody, Winston Churchill. But as your first experience of leadership and captaincy, what have you learned in your first year? Because some people spend a lifetime and never learn these lessons. I'm just interested in your take now. If we have this conversation in 20 years' time, your take will be different because you have 20 years more experience. But what have you learned about effective communication, leadership, and just how you get the message across to people, just in your first year of captaincy?
Well, now moving into a university environment, I'm now, for the first time in a while, working with a whole team of people that are my age. Whereas before, like I've learned to, like I was saying before, dealing with people maybe a lot younger than me, working in corporate events or scout events or things like that, or working with people older than me. But it's very rarely that I get a group that's all 20, 21 years old around that area. So leadership wise and skills that I've learned, I already feel like I had the experience of working with a range of ages, but now I'm working with people like me, and it's really interesting because people my age in competitive sport, even though it's university level sport, it's interesting to see because everyone always has their own opinion, and when you're my age, people find it very easy to speak their opinion, which is great in some senses, but also has its downfalls. So I think one thing that I've learned especially is, when I say dealing with people, it's not dealing with people because that sounds like it's a problem. It's learning to work with different people in different environments. So it's very easy to work with people on a chilled pool session, like just during training, but in an actual competitive situation, people can change like that. So I've really learned, or I feel like I'm learning, how to adjust my tone, adjust the way I talk, but also control what I say, because it's being one of those 21-year-olds, it's very easy for me to say things that I shouldn't at the same time, like anyone else on the pitch, like anyone else playing. So it's, I don't know, I think, like I said, it's mainly about communication and changing the way you act and to base, like, for different people, I think.
Really interesting, because I've got it on gallery view, and I can see the people on the call, and you can see people nodding. And even though you're 21 years old, there's people saying, "Yes, I understand. This man, he's young in years, but quite wise, and he must have got it from your mum." That's all I can say. Okay, now I'll tell you what. Before we go on, do we have any questions? So we've got a young coach, a young captain here. Do we have any questions from the house for Henry? Don't say how'd you get his boyish good looks, because we've done that bit already. No. Okay.
Can
Now,
I just say something, Tim?
oh, yes.
I don't have a question, but I've been in the boat that Henry has been helming, and he was absolutely amazing. He could just turn the boat on a sixpence. And we are absolutely astonished here in Cyprus, because, you know, there was this young man and we just expected, I don't know what we expected. And then all of a sudden he was just absolutely brilliant. So congratulations, Henry.
Thank you.
Good job.
Well done, there you go. Nothing to add. You know more about helming than I can teach you, my friend. Now, speaking of which, let's finish off with a special moment. So, let me see if I can share this with you. Right, hang on a minute. Right, Henry, can you possibly bring that picture up? Because I can't get that picture.
Right, give me 2 minutes. Let me have a look.
If in doubt about anything IT, ask your son.
Okay, yeah, I can do it.
Well, I can't.
I will get it, 1 second. Right. All right, you have to allow me to share my screen.
Okay.
Or make me the host. Make me the host or something.
Either. I can't. I don't think I'm the host. Hang on a minute.
Oh.
Bear with me 1 minute. Yes, I am. Let me make you host. Hang on.
I think I just passed it to you.
Right. Brilliant. Okay, then I've got it now. So, Henry Smith.
All right. Yeah. Perfect.
Hang on a minute. So I may be able to bring it up. Just bear with me. There we go. Okay. Go.
So for me, a little bit blurry. Oh, it's okay. This was my my special moment, as you say, and it's from the 2017 World Championships in Kunming. As you can see, that's our crew there. And to me, this picture is special because this was the last championships that I did in Dragonboating before going to uni. So I sort of went knowing that this was the last time I was going to compete internationally. Well, possibly, but I don't expect to be competing in Dragonboating again. But this for me was special because having started Dragonboating when I was 11, 12 years old and progressing through many teams, many squads with so many people and reaching this point in this championships, it was amazing because like me and my dad, me and Tim had done this together the whole time, and it was sort of our thing, in a sense. And it was nice knowing that the people we were with, I feel like that was the first year that I really felt that the crew we were with, you could completely trust, and I complete respect for every single person in the crew. And on every race, I had I could trust everyone to do their job, and it just felt brilliant because that was the first time in so many years that I felt everyone was really locked in, and it was a real team. And as always, some races didn't go our way, and we didn't get some of the results we want. But the biggest race that we'd always talked about was the Premier 500 meter final, the grand final, the blue ribbon, the last event of the whole competition. And this was the first time in, I think, 4 world championships we've been to that we made it into that final. And we came 6th in the final, so we came last in the grand final, but it was still one of the most amazing races I've ever been in. Just to know that at that point you're surrounded by the best of the best and you're among them. And that just made made the whole experience. And in that atmosphere with that many countries there, it was just amazing. And that was, yeah, the perfect end to my dragon boat career, as you say. Short, but sweet, I guess.
Okay. Let's finish it off there then. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. Henry, you are an inspiration. You are my son, but you are an inspiration to me, and thank you very much. I'm proud to know you. Proud to be your dad. Just to finish off then, thank you very much. So Liz or Pat, would you like to say a few words about what's up next week then? Because that's the end of Paddle the World number 10.
Yeah, thanks, Tim. That was a terrific show. I got to tell you, Farooq, thanks so much for that insight into what's going on in India. That was really interesting. John, I got to tell you, you know me, and you know I'm more about coaching and passionate about winning. And I become more interested, not more interested, but more focused on safety, certainly with this COVID thing. But the one thing I got to thank you for, it was a great presentation, but it was encouraging. It's nice to hear somebody saying we're going to get through this and we are going to get back to normal and we are going to be paddling without masks and able to shake hands and do all those things. So I'm getting the shivers just saying that right now. It was just so nice to hear that from somebody else, because I keep saying it and I'm not even sure I believed it, but now I do, because you do. And Henry, oh my God, Henry, you're only 21. I want to see your birth certificate, because you don't express yourself like a young kid. And I'm sorry, at my age, I can still call you a young kid. And I just bet from listening to you, you've got a presence and a charisma. I bet you're just a terrific coach.
Okay then, so you may be interested to know how we put these programs together. What happens is, myself certainly, I coordinate with the guests during the week. We have a various or variety of meetings where we test and adjust and we discuss the content and we agree what we're going to say, or maybe not going to say, as the case may be. And then we have 30 minutes beforehand a meeting just in case there's any issues. If there's no issues, there's no need for the guests to turn up. This is 30 minutes before the scheduled start time. As it happened on the day, I spoke to Farooq at 3:30 and we weren't entirely confident that the email connection would hold up. So he spent a lot of time putting a PowerPoint together, which I'm going to go through now. I'm not going to do it as good as him, but hopefully I'm going to do it justice. And obviously we did a question and answer on the day. So all due respect to Farooq, apologies if I get some of the pronunciation wrong, but here we go. Let me just share my screen. So let's first off have a quick look where Jammu and Kashmir is. So this is where Farooq was talking from. Here's a map of the world, obviously. And if we zoom in a little bit, you'll see Afghanistan, you'll see China over here, Pakistan, India, and top here, Jammu and Kashmir state, top of India, okay? And if we just zoom into Srinagar, I've lost it for a minute, there it is. Srinagar there in the top, in the north and east of Jammu, Kashmir, zoom in, and that large body of water there, beautiful body of water, is Lake Dal. Okay, so that's where we're talking about in relation to Jammu and Kashmir. Now, if I just switch to, there we go, if I switch to Farooq's actual PowerPoint, so here we go, lovely PowerPoint. He's burnt the midnight oil doing this, so once again, I hope I'm going to do this justice. So here we go, brief history of Dragonboat sports in India. Just talk a bit about Lake Dal. So Lake Dal is a lake in Srinagar. It's the summer capital of Jammu and Kashmir in India. It's an urban lake. Sonia, my wife, has actually stayed there. Beautiful place to stay in the shadow of the Himalayas. The lake itself is the second largest in the urban territory of Jammu and Kashmir. And Jammu and Kashmir is one of the 28 states of India. I got that wrong. I said it was 25. It's actually 28. It's the largest. It's very integral to tourism. And its name is also the Lake of Flowers, or the jewel in the crown of Kashmir, or one of Srinagar's jewels. Now, what I'm going to do is post a video I found, or Sonia found, of Lake Dal. What a beautiful place it is, and I need to go and paddle there, no doubt about it. It's only 6 meters deep maximum. I think the average is about 1.4, 1.5, so plenty good enough for dragon boating, as you will see. So here we go, history and culture. Dragon boating, it's not new. Like a lot of cultures, it has its roots, or crew boat racing has lots of culture and history in the dim and distant past, or the bright and distant past, in fact. This was prior to the introduction of modern dragon boating, and racing in the area, in the vicinity, was contested as traditional boat races, and you'll see some of those little while. And only a few states in India actually raced boats. That's Jammu and Kashmir, Assam, Manipur, and Kerala, some of the 29 states. Modern dragon boating dates back to 2007. There's now a Dragon Boat Federation of India, as you've seen from the head slide. That is only 13 years old. 2007, it set it up, organised a number of national championships across India, and they are an IDBF club or federation, and you've seen India being represented certainly at the last 2 World Championship cycles. Now have a look at some of these boats, especially that one bottom right. You can get some boats that have 80 paddlers. 80 paddlers, how about that? Snake boat racing, very popular in southern India. This is northern India, but in the southern state of Kerala, races are held every year in the month of August. Maybe not this year, as you appreciate. Maybe 20 teams or so, 80 boats, men, and nearly 40 women paddlers. They contest the Nehru Trophy, and I'm sure you're familiar. Jawaharlal Nehru was the first Prime Minister of India in 1947. He was a political activist, and then obviously became Prime Minister when the state became independent, or the country became independent in 1947. A bit about India. Second most populous country in the world, and I think the last estimate was something like 1.35 billion people. Second most popular country, and obviously need to get big boats to put all these people in, and as you can see at the bottom. So there you go. The Nehru Trophy, there's a term here, Valam Kali, literally means playboat or game boat, that sort of thing. And obviously very popular. And if you look at the size of those boats, I presume they only go in straight lines and have to turn around a bit like big dragon boats and paddle them back in the opposite direction. Anyway, moving on. Traditional boat race in northeast states of Manipur called Heriku Idongba, and I hope that pronunciation is correct. And that, as you can see, a social religious ceremony performed to bring peace and prosperity to the community, and it started as long ago as 984 AD by Maharaja Hirengba. Okay, so moving on there. Traditional boats here in northeast state of Assam, India again, Canoe, and as you can read for yourself there, 10 to 12 people in the boat there. Interesting, they call them rowers there. Also, that's always a description of paddlers and rowers and that sort of thing. But rowers in this case, but small dragon boat sort of boats, obviously paddled side by side. There's different gender boats there. May do mixed boat racing as well, but obviously a very rich heritage. And you see there, they're peacock boats, Mayor Pocky. But to make it a peacock boat, you apparently have to pay some sort of sum or fee. So very often, to avoid a bit of cost, then people have a decorative head. It's not actually a peacock, but retain the name of the boat. So just moving to Jammu and Kashmir specifically, this has a long history of organising boat races, from royal touch to modern competition, it says. Traditional boat racing originated from early 9th century, so long time ago. And there are annual regattas by a local school, youth services, sports departments, state schools. And that one that Farooq also mentioned, the Jashan Nidal, which is really a celebration. It's organised by the state police, and Farooq is one of the police officers in the area. And it's a water sports activity, talent scouting competition under their civil inclusion, civil action program. So the community involvement aspect to that as well on the Lake of Flowers. Here's a look at some different traditional boats. Sonia's seen some of these. I've seen these sort of boats in various videos in different formats, paddled. I think some have motors on the back, but like I say, a very large variety of boats. And as you can see from the pictures, lots of boat traffic. And in fact, there's a gentleman there in a kayak in the background, and obviously Farooq is a kayak coach himself. So a few more images there, some dragon style boats there, dragon boats. They are dragon boats, a different design, not familiar with that particular design. And like I say, very well attended competitions. Here's some the members of the current Dragonboat Federation of India, and there's our friend there, Farooq, front end centre. Great to see. And just moving on there, last few slides, some teams and celebrations. All important contact. Any questions that you weren't able to ask, his Farooq is on Facebook. There's his handle there, his moniker, and any emails, there you go. JK, Jammu and Kashmir, DBA, Dragonboat Association Secretary @gmail.com. He's a lovely bloke. He'll love to talk to you, love to share any ideas. And like I say, as soon as I can possibly get myself over to Jammu and Kashmir, I'm going to paddle some of these snake boats. Anyway, that's all from me. I hope I did that justice. Thank you very much to Farooq again. Great presentation. And it's really great because when you think about it, we was 4 o'clock in the UK. We was 6 o'clock in Chicago, and poor old Farooq, it was 20:30, 8:30 in the evening. So thank you very much for taking the time, obviously when he had other priorities regarding the family. So I'll just stop the share there. That's all from me. This will be on the end of the YouTube presentation. I hope you enjoy it. Any questions, come straight back. Very keen on your feedback about anything about improving the quality of our presentations. Like I say, feedback is the gift that makes you great. So any positive feedback, any developmental feedback, we love to hear that as well, because that's how we improve. That's how we stay current. And thank you very much. Have a great day. Cheers.